Hey guys, it's Haley and welcome to another bookish video. So today, as you can tell by the title, we're going to be running through my October wrap-up. I have a lot of books to talk about, but before we jump in, this video is kindly sponsored by Ana Luisa. You knew this was coming. Like, every booktuber, I feel like, gets around to working with Ana Luisa, and that's because their brand is absolutely gorgeous. Their products are absolutely gorgeous. So I'm gonna show you a few things that they sent me, tell you a little about the brand, and of course, we're gonna get to the discount link down below. Here are a couple of the pieces that they sent me. This gorgeous necklace that I'm literally obsessed with. Like, it's just so simple and dainty, and I feel like everything on their site is like that, and that's totally my style. Kind of understated and simple, very classic. Like, these hoops are just very classic. I wear them almost every day since I got them. And then they also sent me these, like, I think they're called like Celestial, the Celestial set, which is so pretty. We have a little moon and then a little star, and I'm so excited to wear these in the winter. I don't know why, I feel like they're very wintry, like these with a little sweater. I'm dying. And then these I have actually worn a ton to like work things, like meetings where I want to look like kind of professional but still cutie. And that is this pair, and they're like little safety pins. I'll put in a photo of me wearing them because I just absolutely love every single one of these pieces. And I have really sensitive ears, especially, like my ears always hurt and get like gross when I put most like fast fashion brand kind of earrings in. And honestly, I thought like that's just how all earrings are, but I guess I've never worn like actually nice earrings because these do not irritate my ears at all. Neither do these, and I'm sure the Celestial ones won't as well because it's actually good quality, and it is so worth it for the quality. I seriously don't think I can wear any other earrings after trying these. So if this looks like your style and you like that like dainty look, or you're looking for a gift for somebody who likes that kind of style for the holidays, definitely check out Ana Luisa. I will link my link down below so you can shop. They're having their biggest sale ever right now. It's 20% off the whole entire website, which is just crazy, especially like for the quality. I can't even tell you guys. So definitely check that out. I will link it down below. And now let's go ahead and get into the wrap up. So first, let's get into stats. In the month of October, I actually read 17 books for a total of 5,613 pages. And here is the mood breakdown. It is pretty typical. We have lots of dark, tense, mysterious books. Obviously, it was Halloween, so this makes sense. My pacing of my books was pretty even mixed between fast and medium paced. I don't read a lot of slow-paced books, we know this. As for the page number, I read one book that was above 500 pages, so good for me. I never do that. I was able to do that because I read 6 books that were under 300 pages, and then the rest of the 10 were in my sweet spot, the 300 to 500 page range. I read all fiction books in the month of October. And here is the genre breakdown. We have a ton of thriller and a ton of horror. Typical genre breakdown for me, although we don't have any romance in there because it's spooky season. As for ratings this month, I read one book that I did not rate because it was a middle grade, and obviously I'm not the intended audience. 1 2-star book, 1 3-star book, 2 3.5-star books, 4 4-star books, and 8 5-star reads. I know, that is ridiculous. That is such a ridiculous number of 5 stars. I don't think I've ever had that many 5-star reads in 1 month. So let's go ahead and get into it so I can give you the tea. Oh shoot, I almost forgot about the rest of my stats that weren't on Storygraph. I have my other stats that I do every month. So the mode that I read these books, I read 4 via ebook, 2 via audio, and 11 physically. I read 1 middle grade, 2 YA, and then the rest of the 14 were all adult. And as for the author statistics, I read 9 books by male identifying authors.
Don't question me. I don't know what that was about.
And the rest of the 8 were by female authors. And I read 6 books by authors of color, and the rest of the 11 were all by white authors. So now that the stats are officially done, let me tell you about the one middle grade book that I did not rate, which was Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark by Alvin Schwartz. And this was just a very nostalgic read. I read this on Halloween night, and it was just fun. It was a fun time to go back to one of the first pieces of horror thriller content I ever read in my life, and just be nostalgic about that and what I thought about that as a kid and what I think about it now. And I definitely think it's super cute and great if you have a horror loving child like I was as a child. So I would definitely recommend it for spooky season. It was a good quick read for Halloween. Next, let's go ahead and move on to the 1 2-star book that I read this month. And this one is a heartbreaker. I do have to say, this one was really, really hard because it was one of my most anticipated books of 2021, and that is My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. Y'all know Stephen Graham Jones is one of my favorite horror authors, so this was heartbreaking to not like his new release that much. I really go in depth in my thoughts as to why I didn't like this book in the vlog that's coming next. It'll be up in just a few days for like the week of Halloween. I vlogged myself reading a ton of horror books, some of which I'm going to talk about in this video, but I'm not going to go too in depth on them, so you still watch the vlog. But basically, this was just not what I was expecting at all. The synopsis had me thinking that this was going to be a slasher about a girl who's obsessed with horror movies, and she's preparing her whole life to be this final girl. And then when she's in the middle of a slasher, you know, you watch her and you see how this plays out, if her horror knowledge actually helps her, which I was thinking I was going to relate to the main character a lot because I obviously love horror. So I wanted to see, you know, ooh, what would happen to me if I was in a massacre? Would I be the final girl like I've been preparing for? Did these horror movies actually prepare me? But it wasn't that. It was really stream of consciousness style, like with the writing style. And it was very slow paced. It was very character driven and not plot driven at all. And that was challenging for me because I did not like the character that was driving the story. Although I really did like the horror references in here. There's some really like deep cuts that only true horror obsessed people would know about. So I definitely liked finding those little Easter eggs, and the end was exciting. So I'll give it another star for that. But most of this book was just me being really disappointed that I didn't like it as much as I thought it was going to. The 3-star book that I read in October was Her Dark Lies by J.T. Ellison, and this one I got from the library because I knew I had to read another J.T. Ellison book this month for my friend Jessie's book club. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna try another J.T. Ellison before I get into that to like kind of know her writing style and what she's all about. So I don't judge the book club pick too harshly. And I'm glad that I did that. This Her Dark Lies is J.T. Ellison's newest release, and it's really serving the guest list. Like, it's about this engaged couple, and the guy's family is like super rich, and the girl's like marrying into this family. It's very intimidating. She doesn't really know what she's signing up for, and all of these creepy things start happening to her on the island where they're about to have their wedding. So her and all of her guests are kind of like trapped here on this island, and creepy things start happening. People start turning up dead. There's something written in blood on her wedding dress. Like, horrifying things are happening, and she's kind of trying to figure out what's going on. Also, another part of the mystery is that the guy that she's marrying had an ex-wife who was found dead. So she's like,
was she murdered? Am I about to get murdered?
It's like that kind of vibe. And I did enjoy this book. It was definitely fun. I liked my experience of reading it. It always captured my attention, and the writing style was beautiful. I will say J.T. Ellison has a wonderful writing style where everything is very descriptive and very visual. I felt like I was walking behind the characters, watching the action happen. So I really liked that aspect. However, every single reveal from the first one at like the halfway point of the book it just wasn't working for me. It didn't go in the direction that I like thrillers to go. It was definitely not like a domestic whodunit, like something like a Sherry Lapina book or The Guest List or The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. It was not like that. It went into this other direction that I just don't really like to read about. It wasn't as interesting to me, and I won't obviously give away what that is. I don't want to spoil it, but I'm disappointed that I didn't really like the plot. But everything else I did like. Next, I have 2 books that I rated 3.5 out of 5 stars. And the first one was this little Stephen King novella that's also in that horror vlog. It's called The Mist, and it's about this mist that comes into this town following a storm, and it kind of brings, I won't say exactly what it is. It brings havoc to the town. And if you get caught in this mist, you're probably not going to get out. So it follows a father and son as they're hiding out in this grocery store where all these people are trapped, trying to figure out how they're going to survive. Are they just going to live in this grocery store forever, kind of like a Bird Box situation, or are they going to get out and try to fight through the mist? And it was a really great story. There were some elements that got under my skin that I just felt were problematic and unneeded, which kind of happens a lot for me with Stephen King. So I was kind of expecting it, and that's why it was a lower rating, even though I really did enjoy the majority of the story. And I talked about this in the vlog, but I had previously watched the movie The Mist. It's one of my little brother's favorite movies growing up. I don't know what's wrong with us. Why were we just horrifying children? Anyway, so I kind of thought that I knew what the story was because I'd seen the movie so many times, but I didn't. And this ending was so much better than the movie ending. So I highly recommend this one if you can get over the problematicness that is Stephen King. And the other 3.5 star book that I read this month was possibly the most horrifying thing I have ever read in my entire life, and that is Cows by Matthew Stokoe. I don't know how to pronounce his name, and I'm not going to try because this man, he doesn't deserve his name pronounced right. He deserves, I don't know, jail time or something for the words that this man made me read, the things that I visualized in my mind while I was reading this book. Oh, please, I'm just going to say, do not read Cows if you have a weak stomach, if anything triggers you at all, if you don't like gross things, if you don't like body horror or animal abuse, or you're vegan. Oh my God, if you're vegan, do not read this. I'm just gonna say that. And yeah, I feel like I pride myself on being really hard to shake. I am never scared by anything that I read. And it's really, really rare that I'm like,
ooh, this is actually spooky.
Well, I'm reading something. This one did it, to a degree that I have never experienced before. It wasn't even like I was scared. It was just that I was so fucking uncomfortable and unsettled by what I was reading. Let me tell you kind of what this is about. It's hard to explain, but it follows this young man who has grown up in this household with his abusive mother his whole life. He's in his 20s now, and he's kind of thinking that he needs to get out of here and start his own life because he can't just live with this abusive tyrant forever. So it's about his journey, trying to find a partner, find a job, and kind of build this life for himself that he's always seen on TV and dreamt about. So he gets a job at this meat processing factory where they butcher cows, and
I'm trying to figure out what I want to say here because I don't want to get demonetized, and I don't want Ana Luisa to be mad at me that I'm talking about horrifyingly disgusting things in a video that they're sponsoring.
So I will just say, horrifyingly disgusting things happen in this book between the abuse that goes on between the mother and the son and the factory. Things go just off the rails at the factory. The cows are, I'm not gonna even go there. Just know this book is crazy, okay? And if you think that maybe you should pick this up because,
oh my god, Hailey, like, no, she's saying this is so crazy, whatever, I can handle it, it's not gonna be that bad for me.
no girly, that's what I thought. That is what I thought when I heard like Jordaline Reads and my friend Mikay talking about this book on Gabby's live show, talking about horror recommendations. I was like, oh, they're all hyping up this book, saying that it's so horrifying. I'm not scared by anything. Let me go read it. Girly, I regret it. I regret it. I'm sorry. And you're probably thinking like, Hailey, you're shitting on this book. Why is it not a 1 star? And it's because the like commentary on abuse and trauma was actually kind of good, and the unsettling grossness was kind of the point of the book. Like, that is what this author was trying to do, so I can't really fault him for that. So 3.5 out of 5 stars. Next, let's get into my 4-star books. 2 of them I read in my Dark Academia vlog that just went up a couple weeks ago now. So I read The Box in the Woods by Maureen Johnson and The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. Both of these had some Dark Academia vibes. I really enjoyed both of them. I gave them both 4 stars. They're great. I recommend them. If you want more in-depth thoughts, I will link that Dark Academia vlog. I'm so happy that you guys are loving that vlog because I was really proud of that vlog. I really liked the experience of filming it and reading all the books. I read so many great 5-star books in that video, so go watch it if you haven't yet. Another 4-star book I read this month was Lie to Me by J.T. Ellison, and this one is tabbed up from doing that live show because I read this, again, like I mentioned earlier, with Jessie for her Sleep When I'm Dead book club, and we had such a fun time discussing this book. She makes the discussions like so fun. We played like some horror thriller type of like games. It was just a good time. So I will link that discussion if you didn't get a chance to watch it live. But yeah, I really enjoyed this book. I gave it 4 stars. It is a pretty typical domestic thriller. It follows this couple, and one day the husband wakes up and the wife is missing. He can't tell if she has been kidnapped and something's happened to her, if she committed suicide, or if she just ran away to start her new life somewhere else. So he is trying to find out what happened to her, and so are the police because they have a missing woman on their hands, and obviously they think that the husband did it. So this book is kind of a mix of Gone Girl and Behind Closed Doors, because you have the missing woman element from Gone Girl. She disappears in a very Gone Girl type of way. And then you have the Behind Closed Doors element because as the police are searching for the wife, it's coming out that this marriage was not as luxurious and perfect as everyone once thought. There was actually something darker going on behind their closed doors. So I really love both of those books. They're 2 of my favorite thrillers of all time, and kind of going down the ride that reminded me of that was really nice in this book, although I don't think this book was as well done as either of those. So but I did enjoy it. Again, J.T. Ellison's writing style is just really beautiful and atmospheric, and it's nice to see a thriller written in a way that feels literary and feels very visual and pretty, because I feel like a lot of thrillers don't do that. So that was refreshing to me. I did like a couple of the twists. They were surprising. One I did predict, the like big one I predicted, but everything else I liked. So I would say this is an average thriller. If you're looking for something good to pick up, or maybe you have like a book hangover from just reading a really good book like Gone Girl and Behind Closed Doors, you can pick this up knowing it's not going to be quite to that level, but you're going to have a good time. And the last 4-star book that I read this month was Camp Slaughter by Sergio Gomez, and I freaking loved this book. This is a typical slasher book. If you like watching slasher horror movies, all the classics, you will love this because it was basically that in book form, and you can tell that Sergio Gomez, the author, really is an avid horror lover, and I love when that comes through when I read a horror book. There were nice homages to a few classic horror movies that I definitely picked up on, and we're basically following this cannibalistic masked villain as he murders people at this campsite, at this abandoned cabin that is like lauded as one of the most isolated cabins in the entire US. So people go there to try to escape. Little do they know their life will be escaping with them.
That didn't make sense. Anyway.
So we're following a group of teens, which is just perfect slasher trope. This group of teens about to get picked off one by one. And then we're also following these documentary makers who think that something's up with this cabin and all the people that seem to go missing around it. So this was just a fun, fast-paced horror ride. I really liked how the main villain was crafted for this story. I think it was done really well, and you kind of get some understanding behind why he is the way he is. I also really liked the cultural elements of this book because our villain is from Mexico, and we have some like flashback scenes where we see him like growing up there and like the things that happened to him, and I don't know, I just really liked it. For some reason, this book really clicked with me, and I don't think it's like some literary genius. Like, this is not F. Scott Fitzgerald that we're reading here, but it was so fucking fun, okay? This was a fun book. At the end, it did get a little like, whoa, crazy. There's a lot happening here, and I'm not quite sure if it's realistic, and I'm not quite sure if it's as fleshed out as I want it to be, but it was fun, okay? It was really fun. So I really recommend this book if you're looking for a book that reads like a horror movie. And now let's go ahead and move on to this huge stack of 5-star books that I have looking at me right in my face. It's a lot. So settle in, pause it, get a snack. We're ready to go. The first 5-star book I want to talk to you about is In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. I also read this one in my Dark Academia vlog, and it really took me by surprise. I absolutely loved it. It's really reminiscent of The Secret History, where there was this 7-person friend group in undergrad, and now all these people have grown up, except for one of them who was murdered by somebody else in the friend group, so it seems. So now that they're grown up, we are trying to figure out who murdered this one person in the friend group. They're coming back to their college for their reunion, and all this drama happens. All these people coming out of the closet, which I was like living for. We love the LGBT rep. I did not expect that to go on in here, but it did, and it was very great. And all of the twists were just immaculate. Immaculate. I loved every single twist. I thought it was done so well in a way that just sucked me into the story. Please read this book, and for more in-depth thoughts, watch the vlog again. Another 5-star from that vlog was They Never Learn by Lane Fargo, and we're following a murderous professor as she picks off the horrible men that work at her college one by one. And this is very morally gray. You really want to root for our main character, who is actually a horrible person, like she's a murderer. But because we get some of her backstory, you're really able to understand why she does this and what motivates her. And this was just pretty much the perfect thriller for me. It was like You, but make it gay and make it feminist. And that is everything that I'm looking for. 5 stars. If you haven't read this book yet, what are you doing? I had one of the moments where I know this was going to be a 5-star book, like at the halfway point, because I had the moment where I was like, I can't believe this absolute masterpiece has just been sitting in my house, and I did not know what was lying inside of the pages. I've had that feeling with Pretty Girls, with Jar of Hearts, with Brother, and with this book. Those are like my top 4 that halfway through I was just like, I cannot believe that these words were sitting in my home for so many months, and I was just going about my day, not knowing that these words were lying a few feet away from me and I could have been reading them. So I feel like that speaks volumes. Please go pick it up. And then yet another 5-star book from that vlog was The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. This follows the story of our main character, Ziamara, and she is a 15-year-old Dominican girl. Her family is from the Dominican Republic, and they moved over to this New York neighborhood, and she's kind of figuring out how she's going to bring her culture, her religion, her womanhood into the next phase of her life, because she's in that transitionary period where she's not a kid, she's an adolescent, but she's kind of wanting to be a young woman and figuring shit out. And she does that by slam poetry. And this book was just phenomenal. It's beautifully written. The whole thing is written in verse, so it was very quick and easy to read, and I admire so much that Elizabeth Acevedo is able to convey these really deep emotional themes in such little words that are still so fucking impactful. Like, this book was just so good. It made me cry. I was like taking pictures of the pages. So if you want really full in-depth discussion, again, watch the blog. Okay, I'm not gonna say that anymore because everything else I have to talk to you about is new. I've never talked about it on my channel before. So yet another 5-star book I read in October was Autumn Crow by Cameron Chaney, AKA Library Macabre, here on BookTube. Please go check him out. If you haven't checked out his channel already, you probably have. But if you haven't, I'll link his channel down below because I am obsessed with his videos. They're like so put together so nicely, and like there's this atmosphere and it just feels like, oh, there's spooky music. He's talking about horror books. It's so fun. And he's also an author, so you know I had to pick up his book, which is Autumn Crow, and it is set in this little town called Autumn Crow where it is Halloween like every day. And that is where I would like to be at all times. And this short story collection was just so freaking charming. It was light and enjoyable in this way that was like, oh my God, this feels cozy. Like, I feel like I'm at the pumpkin patch. I feel like I am seeing the falling leaves and the changing colors, which I've never seen in my life because I am born and raised in Texas. So never seen red, orange leaves, never seen that in person. But I was in that atmosphere while I was reading this book. But at the same time, you don't lose those horror elements. There are still some like creepy, disturbing things that happen in these short stories. I absolutely love it. I will talk more about it in my next video, but just know I gave it 5 stars, and that's very rare for me. I don't give a lot of short story collections 5 stars because every single story has to be a banger to give it 5 stars, and every single one of these stories I loved. So if you're looking for something Halloween-y, you're not quite ready to let go of spooky season, this would be a book I would definitely recommend for you. The next 5-star book I want to talk about is Indelible by Karen Slaughter. This is the 4th book in the Grant County series. I am steadily working my way through, and I think this was my favorite book in the series as well. We're following obviously the same characters that we've been following, but instead of like a serial killer investigation, which is how most of the books in this series are structured, we are actually following an active shooter and hostage situation, which I've never read a thriller like that, and it was crazy. It was so fast-paced. This is a thick book, okay? And I read it in less than 24 hours because I was in the moment, okay? This to me had the pacing of like No Exit. It was so quick, and I was in it from like the moment go. Like, one of the main characters is like wounded, and my heart was just like, no, I've been reading you for 4 books. You cannot die, bro, because I love you. I am obsessed with you, and you can't die on me. So I was very emotionally invested. It was super exciting. That's everything I want out of a thriller. We love you, Karen Slaughter. Okay, we're getting into the last few books here. So the next 5-star that I read in October is Pet Sematary by Stephen King. And I absolutely love this book. I read this book along with the audio, and the audio is narrated by Michael C. Hall, which was such an experience. I was like picturing a Dexter type character as I was reading this, and it just set the atmosphere at a whole nother level. He read it so theatrically, like, oh, I don't think I could have gotten through this book physically, but the audio was just immaculate. So I ended up really loving it. I loved the discussions of grief and humanity in this book. I like when a horror book goes a little bit deeper than just freaking you out, and this book definitely did, but it did not lose any of the creepy, disturbing horror-ness at all. Obviously, it's Stephen King. It's gonna be creepy like that. But it basically follows this family that moves to this little house, and it's on this really busy like road, like almost like a highway it seems like, where a lot of like huge 18-wheelers just come like whizzing by their house. So it's kind of like a thing in the town that they're like, oh yeah, pets get killed and like run over in the road all the time. You better watch out. And chances are you're probably gonna have to bury a pet at some point, so go bury them in the pet cemetery. And there's something very creepy about that pet cemetery, which obviously I won't get into because no spoilers, but just know I highly recommend this, even though it's Stephen King. I felt like this wasn't as problematic as Stephen King could possibly get. Some of the discussions about like the indigenous people that lived on the land before were like, but for the most part, really, really a perfect horror book. Great discussions of grief. Highly recommend. Now we're getting into two of my top favorite books of the month, which I haven't talked about at all on this channel, so get ready for it. The first one is Wonderland by Jennifer Hillier. I freaking love this book. I am obsessed with it. If you're looking for a thriller or really horror, there are some horror elements in this book that happens in like an amusement park, a carnival where there's creepy clowns and like cotton candy and those kind of vibes. This is it. This is the one that you need, because this is so good. It's about this amusement park called Wonderland where these wonder workers who work there
obviously they work there, hello.
They keep going missing, and there are these young boys. And the police haven't really put the pieces together, because if they do, the entire like infrastructure of their town will collapse. Like basically Wonderland keeps this little town afloat. So the police chief is like,
I'm gonna just turn the other way. I'm gonna just ignore that. We're gonna pretend these boys aren't going missing.
But this new deputy comes to town. She moves in and she's like, no. Listen, we're not gonna just ignore this. All these deaths are connected, and I'm gonna prove it and find out who is doing this. And along the way, because it's Jennifer Hillier and she is masterful at romantic suspense, there is a little romantic subplot. There is some like tawdry relationships. There's some scandalous drama, and it's just so entertaining and so perfect. There's every single element I could possibly want in a book in Jennifer Hillier's books. So we all know that I love her. We all know that I'm obsessed with her. Read this book and move on, and you're gonna love your life. And the last book that I want to talk to you about, this one is a banger, okay? This one is a banger. This one is on another level. This one I almost DNF'd at like 20%. And then I gave it 5 stars because it is that hard to read. Okay, this book is hard to read. I'm just gonna give you that preface. It's horrifying. But if you're like me and you like things that are horrifying, I'm gonna recommend that you read this book immediately. Now, if you have any trigger warnings whatsoever for brutalization of a human body, rape, sexual assault, murder, torture, snuff films, animal abuse, cannibalism, incest, anything, basically, if you have any of those triggers, please do not read this book. But if you're fine with any of that, then I implore you to pick up Survivor by J.F. Gonzalez, because this book is phenomenal. I don't want to give too much of the story away because there is a twist every other chapter, honey. And I'm not trying to spoil anything. But basically, it's about this couple. They're married. They're going on this romantic getaway for the weekend. On the way driving there, something sketchy happens. The husband gets pulled over and they end up taking him to jail for the night. And of course the wife is like, this was supposed to be our romantic getaway. I'm so pissed. What the hell is happening? She goes to this hotel and she's like, oh, whatever. See you in the morning, king. I'll get you a lawyer if I can. And while she's at this hotel, she gets kidnapped by this man who says that she's going to be a star in his snuff film. And if you don't know what that is, I'm not going to tell you. I feel like that's something you need to look up on your own time. But just know that it's horrifying. And obviously it's called Survivor because this bitch is going to do whatever it takes to survive. She is not going down without the biggest fight I have ever seen from any main character. She is one of the strongest, most nuanced, most interesting female main characters I have ever read about. And the fact that she was written by a man blows my mind. She is so nuanced. Like, there are just so many layers to this character, and that is the reason why I gave it 5 stars, because there's a lot to not like about this book. There's a lot that is supposed to be intentionally disturbing and horrifying, and usually I would not give a book that's just trying to shock me and scare me a 5-star rating, even if I enjoy it. But I had to give this one 5 stars purely for our main character. She is, you just understand why the book's called Survivor. Like, she will do anything it takes. And I cannot believe some of the things that went down in this book. Like, horrifying, terrifying. But I was still flipping pages. I needed to know what was going to happen. I was literally reading at one point like, oh God. Like, I had to keep looking away. I could not physically look at the pages because it was making me ill, but I needed to know what was happening because it sucked me in with that emotional connection to this character. Yeah, I just loved it. And I really have to thank Mikay here on BookTube for recommending this and pushing it down my throat during Gabby's live show because it was phenomenal. And I have a vlog footage of me reading this that's going to be up in a few days in that Halloween vlog. And it is hilarious. It's some of the most chaotic clips I've ever taken in my life. When I was editing them, I was like, wow, Hailey, you're ridiculous. But it's definitely very entertaining. So look forward to the live action reaction of me reading this book because it's a gem, and so is this book. So that is the perfect note to end on. Thank you guys for watching this beast of a wrap up. If you got to this point, I'm gonna do something different today. If you got to this point, leave me a purple emoji in the comments. I don't know, I thought that'd be cute. And don't forget to check out Ana Luisa at my link down below. Get your 20% off the whole website, shop for a friend, get the Black Friday sale, do what you're gonna do. And yeah, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.